Tonight on The Proof Is Out There. A glowing orb splits in the sky.
Two things are dropping down. Holy crap.
Disturbing creatures swim the sea.
These aren't natural animals, but rather the product of some sort of bizarre mutation.
And are California wildfires caused by laser weapons?
The US government was using energy weapons to purposefully start these forest fires.
Around the globe are videos,
What the heck is this?
photos, and sounds that defy explanation.
Is it some kind of unidentified object?
A plane that was literally frozen in the air.
What are they?
Some sort of bizarre mutation.
Extraordinary claims need extraordinary proof.
I'm Tony Harris, and as a journalist for more than 30 years, I've followed the facts where they take me. Now I'm bringing that spirit of investigation to the world's strangest sounds and images. We'll analyze each one with top experts
It's a credible case, it's a credible video.
and pass a verdict on what it is.
This video was clearly fake.
The Proof starts now. Hi, everybody, and welcome to The Proof Is Out There. Let me start by asking you to imagine you're at a family gathering, celebrating the 4th of July, when an unexpected guest shows up. And it's not your crazy uncle. It's something up in the sky. It's Independence Day in Alamance, North Carolina, and a local man is enjoying a barbecue with his family. Fireworks are going off intermittently, so he's been looking at the sky all evening, when he suddenly sees something even more spectacular.
It's moving. It's moving slow.
It's a classic orb-shaped UFO, the kind we've seen in several videos, some real, some fake. And what makes this footage extra special is that it goes on for more than 8 minutes.
God, I wish I had some binoculars.
Now look at what happens here at the 6.5-minute mark.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Something's coming off of it. Two things are coming off of it.
Where is it at?
One went up and one's coming down.
Where is it?
Holy crap. Look at this.
The orb seems to bifurcate, and seconds later, it splits again.
Oh, now something's coming out of the other one. Holy third one's coming out.
There's 3 different. Oh my God, that's crazy.
Like other orbs seen around the world, this one had no wings or obvious means of propulsion. It's hard to judge its speed, but others have been clocked by commercial pilots at over 500 miles per hour.
And it's pulsating too, man. That is nuts.
Journalist Alexis Brooks, who writes and speaks about UFOs, says the duration of this sighting is important.
Some individuals that have long contact encounters, that is exceeding 5 minutes or more, may actually be having a literal contact encounter without them being consciously aware of it. Could it be that non-human intelligence or the occupants of the craft were actually making contact with the witness and vice versa?
Yeah, we got some action going on here, boys.
The witness said he later tried to find some earthly explanation for the incident, even checking with a nearby military base. But to this day, he says he's gotten no answers. Our experts may be able to change that. Our video analyst, Mark D'Antonio, begins by looking at the surrounding factors involved in this event.
I stepped through it frame by frame to try to isolate the components and equate them with something that we might already know. It's actually pretty high altitude.
For starters, D'Antonio's positive it couldn't be a bird.
Birds don't have that kind of reflectivity to them. Even geese at high altitude, you can still detect that they're birds.
He's just as sure it's not a plane or a drone.
Planes and drones, they have to follow Federal Aviation Administration rules for lighting, and this object had none of that.
Nor could it be a natural phenomenon like a meteor. It just hangs in the sky too long.
Meteors are momentary objects. They go through the sky, and then they're gone.
So what was it? The secret could be in that strange splitting.
Here you can see, in this image, you can see how it's a teardrop shape, and these objects are falling away. And the object that's way up there has changed brightness tremendously. Now, my thinking takes me down the path of weather balloon.
It certainly wouldn't be the first time a weather balloon was mistaken for a UFO. In fact, the government initially claimed it was a weather balloon that caused the Roswell incident. But that still doesn't explain how this thing could split apart and move off in different directions.
I would guess that this is a weather balloon where whatever was attached to it broke off. And when something like this happens, the resistance of the air will tend to streamline it and make it more into a teardrop shape. And that shape is what I think we're seeing here.
That theory sounds plausible, but then, to our surprise, atmospheric scientist Deanna Hintz shoots it out of the sky.
So I do think it's really unlikely that this is any kind of, weather instrument. They come down on a little parachute, and they wouldn't emit light this brightly like this. It doesn't seem to be meteorologically related.
You see it, Dean? You see a UFO?
So, America, is it proof or not? It doesn't appear to be a bird or a plane. Could it be a weather balloon? Maybe. But a local weather service later told the witness there were none in the area. Until we get more solid information, we're going to call this a genuine UFO. There are an estimated 3.5 trillion fish in our oceans, which leaves us with a lot of unknowns about what actually lives down there. And we've discovered photographs of some of the most disturbing sea creatures ever caught on camera. The question, were they spawned by an even more disturbing man-made disaster? This is the Barents Sea, located between Russia and the North Pole. It's one of the most remote and unexplored places on Earth. And one deep-sea fisherman there has brought creatures to the surface that are so bizarre, his Instagram account has made headlines. Fish with bulging lips, what looks like human dentures, and fluorescent red-colored eyes. Creatures with heads shaped like aliens. The images are so bizarre, and there are so many of them. Journalist MJ Banayas, who covers the unexplained, says it's made people wonder if there's something unnatural going on below.
These creatures look so bizarre that people naturally question something's wrong. One theory is that these aren't natural animals, but rather the product of some sort of bizarre mutation.
Look again for yourself. Mutation seems like a reasonable explanation for this. And it turns out the idea of mutated Russian fish may not be far-fetched, as our military expert Tim McMillan explains.
Any government that has any kind of nuclear proliferation program has always had this problem of how do you get rid of your waste? And for a number of years, the Soviet Union's answer was dumping it into the Barents Sea. 17,000 nuclear containers, multiple different nuclear-powered ships were sunk, and an entire nuclear submarine. From a period of about the 1950s until the collapse of the Soviet Union.
Whoa. So the Soviets used the Barents Sea as a nuclear toilet bowl for decades. And as our physicist, Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi explains, radiation and DNA don't mix.
Radiation is really tiny subatomic particles that are flying along. And when they encounter a DNA molecule, they can strike it and break it and change it. So when DNA is subject to radiation, then what happens is the instructions for writing a new animal are changed. So you could end up with anything virtually.
A recent scientific study found that a Soviet nuclear submarine at the bottom of the Barents Sea was nearly 1 million times more radioactive than previously estimated. So are these freaky fish the result of all that dumping? Our marine biologist, Dr. Shay Conger, looks for answers. Conger looks first at the fish's shape and scales.
If these fish were impacted by radiation, we would expect to see strange bumps or protrusions on different parts of the body. But I don't see any signs of radiation sickness or poisoning throughout this animal. Its epidermal tissue actually seems to be pretty intact.
Okay, so Conger says these fish aren't the victims of a nuclear waste dump. But then what else could explain some of these bizarre features? Conger has a theory.
They undergo a process of what we call barometric trauma.
It turns out that some of these fish have the bends. When human divers come up too quickly from the deep, the change in pressure causes the gases in their body to expand. Well, Same for fish.
Often these fish will come to the surface with their stomachs sticking out of their mouth because of the extreme pressure of having the gases within their body tissues expand at such a quick rate.
But there's got to be more to this fish story, right? Conger says the real story was millions of years in the making.
Each species on Earth has a very predictable and well-defined evolutionary pathway that makes it what it is today. These animals aren't alien, they're just adapted to an extremely different environment than we're used to.
The jury is still out about the long-term effects this contamination will have on marine species. Dr. Conger cautions that the impact could take decades to be fully felt. For us, natural evolution and the bends explain these weird-looking fish. So our verdict? This is a non-nuclear phenomenon. In the wake of the recent California wildfires, a strange and sinister theory emerged from the ashes. The video you're about to see had some folks asking if the terrifying natural destruction we observed was in fact unnatural.
Pretty much total destruction. I've seen every house destroyed on this road.
California wildfires have become a perennial disaster. In the aftermath, aerial footage shows wrenching images of destruction.
Here we see the devastating after effects of what these wildfires are leaving in their wake.
But look closely at this shot. Does something seem off to you?
One of the things that we're seeing that is absolutely crazy are entire houses incinerated, burned to the ground, while trees surrounding them are completely left intact, untouched. The question is, what is causing these wildfires?
Let's zoom in on that. It does seem odd that the trees are standing while the houses are reduced to ash. Journalist MJ Banaya says images like these have prompted some wild explanations that are getting attention online.
According to internet conspiracy theories, there's a secret government program known as Agenda 21, the purpose of which is to force people to relocate into major cities. And then, as the conspiracy theory goes, the government can then exercise more control over the population.
And how is this allegedly being accomplished? Forest fires and laser guns.
The theory is that the US government was using direct energy weapons to purposefully start these forest fires to clear out towns or for some other nefarious reason.
Laser weapons are much more than staples of science fiction. During the Cold War, the US and USSR poured resources into orbital space weapons, even deploying some. The so-called Star Wars missile defense system was the most famous, but perhaps the most intriguing was the Air Force's YAL-1, which featured a laser system mounted in a turret on a plane's nose. And that's just the technology we know about. As you know, the US military did just launch Space Force. But could the government really be using secret energy weapons to start fires and control society? We turn to our military expert, Tim McMillan, for an explanation.
The idea of directed energy weapons. It's very exciting. I mean, we've heard about that since Star Trek.
Tim says it's true that the major space powers are all developing energy weapons to take out each other's satellites. But striking the Earth's surface?
That is something that's very difficult to achieve and not technically, that we know of, achievable. Whenever the laser is being projected down, it's got to travel through the atmosphere, clouds. Any one of these factors are going to cause what's called atmospheric blooming. And by the time it reaches Earth, it's not going to have the amount of energy to start a fire and burn something.
So if a laser weapon is not possible, then what can account for the strange aftermath footage? Science writer Mick West, who lives in wildfire country, says it's simple. Houses burn much easier than trees.
It's actually quite hard to burn green wood.
To demonstrate, West decides to do his own test.
I went into my attic and I got a piece of scrap wood. Then I went out into the field behind my house and I cut down a branch of a tree. And then I took both of these pieces of wood and I put them in my fire and I built identical piles of kindling under each one. And then I lit them both at the same time. The wood from my attic caught fire and burned partway through. The wood that I just cut from a tree just got a bit black on the outside, just got a bit sooty, even though they had the exact same small fires underneath, which shows that green wood doesn't burn, but the wood in your house does.
In fact, the average live tree is about 50% water by weight. And while theories about directed energy weapons aren't going to go away anytime soon, that fact leads us to our unequivocal verdict. These fires are natural phenomena. Roe is just one of many. Researchers at the University of Virginia corroborated 1,500 cases of past life memories. Could Baldwin, Depp, and McConaughey be? And that's our show for tonight. If you have any comments or suggestions, please reach out to us. I'm Tony Harris, reminding you to keep those cameras rolling.